So I'm with Rob England, the IT Skeptic, now the UK IT Skeptic, known to the audiences here at SDI in Birmingham. We're at Edgbaston. Welcome again, Rob.
G'day.
First UK conference for you?
Yes, first time in the UK in 25 years.
Wow. Good experience? Enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's a really good conference. It's professionally run, very slick, great feeling to it. You know, I think you said to me earlier, it's a community, you can feel that. You can feel it's a real close group of people, even though there's several, I forget how many hundred at the conference. It has a much more intimate feel.
So, good response to Standard & Case over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I presented Standard & Case and it's really resonating with people far more than I even hoped. You know, the feedback is great and it's starting to go a little bit viral. The people here all responded well. Two themes, they're either saying, wow, you solved my problem of, you know, trying to work out X, or various different things we're trying to come to terms with, or they're saying that, you know, this gives me a whole new way of looking at things, blah blah blah, this is great, you know, sort of inspirational. So yeah, very good.
Talking about having a whole new way of, or things that are new, we had a debate this morning with Christancy, and one of the things I noticed that you guys were talking about DevOps, and I just asked the audience, do you know what DevOps is?
Yeah.
And there was about 2 hands.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've seen that in Australia and New Zealand too.
Yeah, I mean we're all talking about it all the time, but it's obviously not filtering through. I mean, just as an opportunity to give your take on what it is and maybe why we should or shouldn't be looking at it. What's your take on what DevOps actually means?
Well, initially I was taking the skeptic's position and throwing rocks at DevOps and being quite rabidly anti it, to the point where one of the DevOps proponents, John Willis, said he wanted to punch me in the face. Was a famous quote.
Successful skepticism?
Yeah, that's right. But then I had a sort of remote road to Damascus revelation, and I decided there's actually some real substance there, and there are principles and concepts in DevOps that are going to teach us a lot, and I think will heavily influence us going forward. Which is not to say, well, I think we're all going to be doing DevOps anytime soon. I really don't believe that at all. But it behooves us all to understand what DevOps is. So as you say, it's a little bit discomforting when people don't, because as I say, I think those concepts can influence what we do, even if we don't necessarily embrace all of them all the time.
So what is it then? Just to clarify, what's your take
I think that's a good question. My take on it is the motivation for it. The DevOps people talk about wanting to unite the development and operations culture and break down that barrier and have a single unified team. And so they talk about teams who manage both the development and operations of applications. So it's about ownership. So, you know, they have, one of the catch cries is that the developers carry the pager, you know, or right, so that they're supposedly answerable for the operations of the system, and that, you know, your sysadmins are the same people as your coders, and or that's the sort of idealistic theory. In reality, they're all, the sysadmins and the coders are on the same team. But there is this thing about multi-skilled people, you know, and trying to sort of break down specializations as well. So that's all the highfalutin theory. What I think DevOps really is, if you like, at the concrete level, is that you've got these agile cycles which are really fast, you know, and in the most extreme case they're talking about many builds a day, pushes to production a day, or certainly every few days, or, you know, a small number of weeks, very fast cycles. And production traditionally, you know, the change control people are, oh, we can't do that, you know, it's a monthly CAB meeting, you know. And so it's trying to reconcile that slow production cycle with the fast development cycle that Agile produces. To me, that's the nitty-gritty of what DevOps really is for, is to match that up. And so to try and make production be able to cycle as fast as Agile does. That's, I think, the real substance of what DevOps is. So in order to do that, to be able to push many times a day, fundamentally DevOps is about automation. And they say it's not, it's culture and all these other things, which is true, but at its guts, it's about automation. And DevOps people, when you listen to them, talk an awful lot about tools. There's a lot of talk about tools. So it's about automation. And so that's one thing, automating your testing, automating your approvals, building policy engines, automating your build, automating your deploy, right? As much as possible of that process, even if there are manual steps, as much as possible automating it. That's the first thing. And so therefore, what that implies is a really fundamental concept, which is infrastructure as code. So that when you push a build, you're not just pushing the app. You can't have your operational people sitting around going, well, therefore, what servers do I need and what databases do I have to build? You've got to automate all that as well. So, you know, infrastructure as code means scripts to build a virtual server, scripts to build a database instance, scripts to configure the network. And when you push your app, you're pushing the functional code and the infrastructure code as one build. And you're generating the system and the infrastructure to run it in each push, so that you're applying patches to your infrastructure in the same way that you're applying patches to your functional code, which is really interesting.
Is there a way that can speed up testing as well? I mean,
it's all postulated on automated testing, and so that and there is one more fundamental concept that we can learn from, which is fail fast. So the whole idea of DevOps is sure, the agile people are cranking the stuff out really fast, and so sure, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to push bugs, but that's okay, because we'll pick it up and then they'll fix it, and the next push 3 hours later or 2 days later, we can just do another quick push and fix the bug. So in the time it takes you to think about launching your emergency change process and treating it as an exception, we treat it as just a fail, and we push in the next push, it gets fixed again. And so that's a really interesting concept, which comes back to, if you really want to get profound about it, this concept of anti-fragility that comes out of Nicholas Taleb. Anti-fragile systems are systems that are not robust. They're systems that flex and grow and evolve and thrive under stress and under error. And error, actually is a good thing, And the extreme example of that is these chaos monkeys that some organisations are deploying now, which are pieces of code that randomly destroy for production infrastructure or instances just to test and improve the resilience of the system. So anyway, all of that is coming back to the testing, means that if something goes into production that shouldn't have, a bug, you fix it fast, but also you make damn sure that you fix the testing so that those sort of bugs can't get through again as well. So you're constantly evolving your automated testing. Just
back to the I suppose the here and now of this conference, we were saying that people didn't know what it was. Why should a service desk manager be interested in DevOps?
Because first of all, there's going to be little teams wanting to do it. So the marketing people are going to want a new fancy web doobie-dabby to do something, and they're going to hire some external agency, and they're going to be doing DevOps, and they're going to turn up there and say, where do I plug in? I'm going to be doing these automated builds into production. And so I think that's a concern to operations in general, but also service desk in particular. I still don't properly understand what it means to your users when the functionality is changing, like, what happens when they ring up and go, well, it used to be green and now it's blue, and the button used to be here and it's not, which one of these new ones is it, and how does that all work? I mean, to me, that's all a little bit fuzzy. So I really don't think DevOps is going to be core. I don't think everything's going to be DevOps, but these little DevOps systems are going to start showing up in our environment, and we just have to know how we're going to support those.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Thank you for your perspective on that. I will leave you to relax before your 300-hour flight home.
Yeah, in lovely Edgbaston. Look at it.
Isn't it beautiful? Yes. Well, thanks very much. Great to see you here in the UK, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks.